welcome back to the Why So Serious podcast. We are back for our next installment on the road to Infinity War. This week we are revisiting The Incredible Hulk from 2008. Bruce Banner, a scientist on the run from the U.S. government, must find a cure for the monster he turns into whenever he loses his temper. This was pre-Mark Ruffalo Hulk. This was played by Edward Norton, but it is an MCU film. Big Mike, you didn't see Incredible Hulk before, so this is your first time, so we'll start with you. What were your initial thoughts of the film?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't remember anything about this movie. I mean, you said it was my first time, and it was, but like even when it came out, I don't really remember anything about people talking about it. So this was like truly a clean slate for me. I liked the movie a lot. I mean, I watched it with Mike the other day, and we were talking through it, and I said I actually like this movie a little bit more than Iron Man 2, which he was kind of surprised about. What I liked about this one the most, at least more than Iron Man 2, was the fact that everything just kind of seemed like it made sense and flowed together within its own right. Like, obviously, like all the radiation and turning into the Hulk is obviously impossible, but like the way they went about each thing, like it all just kind of made sense to me. Whereas Iron Man 2, it just seemed like they were just throwing things left and right, just trying to fill the story. So I liked it. I don't think it was as well written as some of the other movies that we've seen so far. But I think as a movie, like it was entertaining and I liked it a lot.
Mike, go ahead.
I mean, I haven't seen this movie in a really long time before me and Big Mike watched it. And, like, I mean, it's not a bad movie. Like, I don't think I would say that any movies in the MCU are bad movies. But my biggest problems with this movie is that it feels like it doesn't fit in the MCU, and even though it is. And, like, when it came out, I don't even think I saw it in theaters. I don't even remember how I saw it. I kind of agree with Mike. Like, I don't remember much about its promotion and publicity. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like it fits in. It's just like a weird movie to me. And some of the characters make poor decisions, I think. Like General Ross, I think he's kind of an idiot. And it didn't really feel like it connected until Civil War, when General Ross was in Civil War. And still, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, you know, because we switched actors. And I don't think it's a bad movie, but it's definitely on the lowest. It's one of the lower movies, in my opinion, in the MCU.
Devin, what'd you think?
Definitely a snooze fest for me. I didn't like it when I thought I wanted to see it when it came out in 2008. I struggled to get through, but I got through. I was texting Brandon the whole time, like, this is fucking awful, but we're doing it for the podcasters out there, the podcast listeners out there. This is fucking terrible. Just the whole... They're trying to throw a love story down my throat, and that's pretty much the main thing about this whole thing, even though there's the whole gamma radiation, and there's a monster inside me, and the government's trying to get this. Like, it just threw a love story. It became more about Liv Tyler, and she's fucking gorgeous, but the fucking movie is boring as fuck. The only thing I did like about it was the correspondence between Mr. Blue and Mr. Green. And then that guy realized, like, oh, we're about to be fucking rich as shit. And then this shit going backfired on him with the fucking Abomination. But it was, I don't know, I just didn't like the movie. I got through it just because of the podcasting. But I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But it was a good movie, though. I will say, like, as far as the parts for a movie, it was good. It had everything that you wanted in a movie, but I just didn't like it being a superhero movie. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I was kind of just meh with the film. I didn't dislike it. I didn't hate it. Also, wasn't one of my favorite MCU films. I do remember when it came out, and it didn't feel as much part of the MCU as Mike said because it was a shared production with Universal. So the reason why you haven't seen any more Hulk films since then is because Marvel doesn't own the rights to the Incredible Hulk to use in a solo film, which is why you only see the Hulk in other people's films. And if they were to make a solo film, it would have to be distributed through Universal, and that's not something that they want to do. But they had to do it this one because they wanted to establish the Hulk and in the MCU. So they did one solo film, but they haven't went back to it, and I wouldn't expect them to going forward. But the film was, it was okay. I think the biggest overall factor of this was to try to show that like the Hulk there's humanity in the Hulk, and it's kind of like this allegory of like how people fear what they don't understand. Even though the Hulk is something to fear, he still usually is only reacting to people and not being the aggressor. He's not going to tear shit up. He's usually only fucking shit up when people come after him. And I think that's what the film wanted to get across. I think they did a good job of that. They made Thunderbolt Ross look like a complete asshole.
He was an asshole.
Well, he is. I'm saying they did a good job of that.
Makes poor decisions.
And William Hurt is always a good fucking bad guy. And,
is he Abomination?
Huh?
Is that Abomination, William Hurt?
No, William Hurt is Thunderbolt.
Oh, he plays Ross?
Yeah, Abomination was Tim Roth.
I love that guy. I don't know any of the actors' names.
Tim Roth is awesome.
Yeah, Tim Roth is good. The Abomination is the villain. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I thought it was just kind of like less.
Worst.
It just wasn't great. His motivation, I didn't completely understand it.
Yeah.
I feel like he was like a rogue government agent. Like,
he wasn't even rogue though, because he was loyal to Ross.
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about Ross. Like, I feel like Ross is
Ross? No, Ross is just a power. No, Ross is just a general. He's just.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't feel like he was acting on the U.S. government.
Oh, yes, he was. Absolutely. The U.S. government wanted to weaponize the power of the Hulk. So
why? You can't control Hulk at all.
They don't, but they don't know that. They think that they can.
Yeah, but they fight him like 2 times before. No. Is it 2 or 3 times? And then they don't realize that this is probably a really bad idea.
No, they think once they catch him, they can run tests and stuff to recreate his powers and do it, manifest it in a way that they can control. Which in the comic books, ultimately they do, because Thunderbolt Ross turns into the Red Hulk, which is a controllable Hulk. So eventually they do be able to.
I don't think he's controllable. Power. He's still like Red Hulk, not controllable. He's just
Red Hulk is
a soldier.
Yeah, I mean he's interesting. He's kind of an anti-hero at this point, but yeah. So anyway, first thing I want to say is the intro to this film was confusing as hell. So I'm watching. The
intro for the movie was the whole movie. Like it's a whole. So they summed up the whole movie in the first 2 minutes of the movie.
It was just like cut. Look at this. Sleep. Get angry. Blah. Like it was mad weird. And then you get like fucking Bruce. First of all, I love Edward Norton as an actor, but I do like Mark Ruffalo better as Bruce than Ed Norton. Although I do love Ed Norton as an actor. Then you get Bruce in Brazil, and basically he's in Brazil trying to like figure out a way to look for this flower that he thinks can cure him being the Hulk. And apparently he went there because he was a fugitive of the law. So this film is in continuity with the Hulk movie from 2003, even though that wasn't in the MCU. This is the first one in the MCU. So Big Mike, what'd you think about like the opening part of this film and him in his time in Brazil and that whole sequence before he left Brazil?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I mean, that part was super confusing. And if I didn't have like Mike right next to me kind of explaining like, oh, like, by the way, they don't explain how he becomes the Hulk. Like, he's just kind of the Hulk already. And that brief 2 minutes in the beginning just kind of sums up how everything happened. I didn't really like that. I wish they kind of at least would have put 10 or 15 minutes into the beginning, at least like show that whole process. And then you can cut to Brazil. But as soon as he got to Brazil, it wasn't my favorite part of the movie. I agree with Devin. I like the whole dynamic between Mr. Blue and Mr. Green and how he's trying to figure it out. And I thought like the action in the Brazil part was actually pretty decent, which was something that I feel was missing in like Iron Man and Iron Man 2, like we were saying in the other podcast. Like you just wish there was more raw action, and that's what I think this movie as a whole did pretty well.
Yeah, they definitely did the action well.
Good action scenes.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, not my favorite part of the movie, but, I mean, I think it was kind of a good intro as to why he was doing what he was doing.
I mean, I feel like with Brazil though, I did not like it. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't my favorite part of the movie. But I kind of enjoyed just like seeing him like doing what he's doing, remotely, like as a fugitive, and it fits with his character well. Because once we switch to Mark Ruffalo, like all he does is run from the United States and stay hidden and try to help people. And he was just, what bothers me the most is he's just minding his own business, working in a factory, trying to cure himself, and then like they won't leave him alone. It's just frustrating.
Yo, that AIDS blood, my man got the AIDS blood. That shit's hilarious. Like, oh man, where's the AIDS? I dropped the AIDS. Oh my God,
where's my blood? And then Stan Lee gets the fucking bottle, which is I thought that was kind of cool.
Fucking dope. Yeah, he always like fucking cameos himself in the best.
Well, what was cool about Brazil to me is the fact that they kind of humanized him so you could like Bruce Banner and not. So the point of the film, and I thought they did a good job of building up to the Hulk. And I think
keeping the monster inside of him, they're showing the whole process of keeping the monster inside of him.
Yeah, and they created this anticipation of you wanting to see the Hulk. And then when the scene came where the Hulk came out, it came out with a purpose because you wanted him to fuck those people up. So like essentially what happened was, like Mike said, he's in there, he's working in his factory, he's fixing shit, just minding his business, doing his meditation.
First of all, he's a lowly factory worker, and the boss of the owner of the factory knows he's better and he's more equipped to do better things because he is fixing everything else around the factory and keeping the factory afloat. And he was like, I should just buy a new factory. And Bruce keeps the factory running, like as far as fixing the machines and stuff like that. So that's important because he's trying to blend in, again, trying to keep the monster inside.
Yeah, and I also love how they allow him to they did the counter on the screen, like how many days without an incident. So often movies don't give you any time cues or time perspectives, and I always like when they like show like it's this, like on 24 it's like this time and then it's this time, and like give you some time perspective to let you know how much time is going by or what's happening in the film. Because oftentimes films can get bunched up and you think that it seems like it's all happening in one day, but it's not. So by them showing how many days without an incident and stuff was really, really cool in the film. One thing that was funny to me that I thought was I wrote down, like, do you know what kind of shape you got to be in to do as much running as he did when he was running away from those people? Like, he ran through the entire city of fucking wherever he was in Brazil.
The favelas.
Yes, he ran. He ran through that entire fucking city. I'm like, yo.
He also, his heart rate stayed low because for a while, like that's even harder. Like you could run that far, but your heart rate was
at the peak of my athleticism. When I was in college playing football, there's no possible way I could do that. It's not even possible that I could do that.
I'm an All-American track and field in college, All-American, and I still can't do that.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I can run a 6:30 mile right now, but I still couldn't run like that. I'd fucking die.
He ran so far, so fast, jumping on buildings, I was like, yo, this dude's in shape without being the Hulk. And that's what kind of threw me off about Bruce Banner a little bit. Mark Ruffalo doesn't, you would never see Mark Ruffalo doing that. His Bruce Banner is the scientist, the fucking nerd scientist who's smart as fuck, but, he's a scientist. And I thought that creates, this dichotomy between the scientist and the Hulk, the monster. Whereas when I was watching this, I'm like, Ed Norton can fuck these people. He was fucking them up as Ed Norton. He was punching them and beating them up as Bruce.
Ed Norton's awesome. I kind of liked Edward Norton as the Hulk. I like Mark Ruffalo a lot.
I just didn't like that as Bruce Banner. That didn't feel like the Bruce Banner character.
Right.
The Bruce Banner character, I don't think the Bruce Banner character would be fucking people up.
What did you guys...
Go ahead.
Say that one more time, Mike.
I was trying to remember what my question was. When I was watching this movie, how did he get into the United States? Did I miss?
They snatched that motherfucker. That's why.
No. What happened was when he had the incident and turned it. Sorry, let's just get to this. So they find out based on. So basically, his blood dropped in this soda that they make in Brazil, and Stan Lee drank the soda, and he had a gamma sickness. So they found out that, they assumed, okay, if it's gamma sickness, that's only one person that would have that. So it had to come from Bruce. So they found out where he was bottling, where the soda came from, and they figured he was in Brazil, which I actually respected that because I was like, okay, at least tell me how you
did some
figured it out.
investigation. Right,
So
right. They did some
then
investigating.
they show up at his crib, and he's dipping, and he's running through the city like we talked about, and he ends up.
They scoped him out at the plant. They found him. They actually spotted him, and then
he ends up at the plant, and then they're fucking him up, and he falls behind this thing, and then he gets angry and he turns to the Hulk. And he fucks him up in the fucking plant, which I thought was a really cool scene. He was throwing shit. And they did a great job of hiding the Hulk. So you just see all this destruction and like glimpses of him, but you don't actually see him head on, which builds up.
It comes later at the university, which is one of my favorite scenes, actually.
It builds up, it builds up more anticipation to seeing him. So then, to Mike's point, after that, so basically what happened was, as the Hulk, he can travel great distances. So he ended up in the jungle, and he went through the jungle, and I'm assuming he went through South America, and he ended up in Central America. And that's when he slept, and he woke up, and he was in the jungle by that spring, and he walked to a road, and some guy found him, and they took him from Guatemala. They took him to Guatemala to a city in Mexico, and then I'm assuming he crossed the border.
Yeah, but they didn't explain that at all.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't explain the border crossing. We didn't see him cross the border.
What do you mean explain the border crossing? He crossed the fucking border.
No,
he knows where he has to go now. Yeah, no, but he knows where he's at now. So when he knows where he's at, he's going to find Liv Tyler's character.
Listen, Mike, I'm not going to bring politics in this, but clearly we know people can fucking cross the border. Like,
yeah, I know, but he just kind of the scene shifted, and he was just in America, you know.
So they're supposed to show him crossing the fucking border. You know what you would see of him crossing the border? Him just walking through the woods. That's how you cross the fucking border.
I mean, everyone in every officer and military figure in America will be on open. You'd think it'd be harder for him to get into America. I'm just saying.
Not only get into America, but get from the border to wherever
New York, New York City.
Yeah, but you got to understand, Bruce Banner is not like this fucking national. Everybody with. He's just a regular looking white dude. Nobody would know who that guy is. Like he was paying cash for everything. He was hitchhiking. You saw him walking down the street hitchhiking to find rides to get from place to place. People hitchhike all the time.
General Ross was looking for him for years. You'd think that he would have ways to spot him if he stepped foot in America.
I think we're arguing over
Thank you,
Mike. I think you're overthinking something that's
over a non-issue.
Over a non-issue and over something that's like it's a fucking generic little skinny white dude. Why would you pick him out of a crowd with a hat and a hoodie on? Like that's such an absurd thing.
We've been looking for him for years.
Yeah, that's who we've been looking for.
All right, well, that's not a big deal. I'm just saying,
you made it a big deal.
You made it a problem. God damn.
Everybody agrees. Also, I said that Ed Norton plays a great fucked up person. Like, and I think him playing like this troubled character is like always good. Like, one of my favorite films with Ed Norton is
Keeping the Faith. Oh my God.
Yeah, Keeping the Faith is good. But no, I'm not talking about Keeping the Faith. I'm talking about
American History X.
No, Primal Fear.
Oh, okay, that's a good movie too. Shit, God, Ed Norton's been in a lot of.
Where he plays the altar boy that's like accused of murdering the priest, and he's like all like playing like this like really like low key character. Then you find out he's crazy as fuck. Like that film is really good. So yeah, I really thought that was good. So he gets to America. So, did you guys notice did you guys see the Lou Ferrigno cameo?
Yes, I did.
So I thought that was a cool cameo and a throwback for the Hulk. One of the things I wrote was...
What was the line, though? He said something like...
oh, yeah. He did say something smart.
He said something like as a reference. What did he say? You remember what he said?
No, I don't remember what he said.
I'll look it up.
So then we get, like, Thunderbolt Ross, and he's working with... He's got this guy, Belinsky, this soldier, who's willing to do whatever. And he's basically like, He's like, if I knew what I knew now when I was 21 years old, I'd fuck some people up. That's basically what he was saying. So then they basically tried to recreate the super soldier serum. And we talked about this in Captain America, but like in the history of Marvel, they never could recreate it. Like there was never a chance. They've tried this many times on many different characters, and it never works out because it was one guy who created it, and it was one guy who could take it, and that's Steve Bannon. I mean,
Steve Rogers.
Fucking not Steve Bannon. I'm sorry about that. Steve Rogers. It was Steve Rogers.
Gold.
So they put Belinsky through this program, and it seems like everything's working right. And he's running and doing some fuck shit, doing all types of crazy shit, but you knew it was going to go bad. So, Big Mike, what'd you think about I'll just skip ahead a little bit. What'd you think about the reunion of Betty and Bruce at that college in Virginia?
I gotta say that whole like romance dynamic. I mean, that part was fine. I just hated the acting. I really hated Liv Tyler, as I just did not like her at all. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know why I didn't like her. There was just something about her that just, I felt like she was just whispering all the time, and it was just so weird to me. Like I couldn't get past the fact that she was just inaudible the entire movie, and she just seemed like this, like the stereotypical like helpless girl who just,
yeah, they did kind of do that. Especially when she's like a fucking molecular biologist genius.
Right.
Like I feel like they could have gave her some more agency and more like help and more like say so what was going on there.
But she did help make Bruce because she was in the room in that first 2 minutes of the movie.
Also, her new dude was a snitch. Like as soon as I saw him, I was like,
"Yo,
he's a fucking snitch."
It's Phil Dunphy from Modern Family.
Modern Family, yeah.
As soon as I saw him, I was like, he's a fucking snitch. That guy's a fucking snitch, and of course he snitched. And that's how Thunderbolt Ross found him in Virginia. Also, did you guys notice? So after we'll talk about the big fight, but did you guys notice like after the big fight when Betty and Bruce ran away and they were in that hotel? Yeah, did you guys notice the purple pants?
Yeah,
I thought that was fucking cool. One of the things I liked about this film was all the little hints of stuff
or homage really they paid to the old Hulk.
Yeah, I thought that shit was cool. So then we had a big fight scene on the lawn in this college in Virginia, Culver City College, where basically Betty's there and she finally sees Bruce turn into the Hulk. And I thought this scene was awesome. Like, they brought out the sonic fucking, what the fuck are those things? Sound things on top of the cars. That scene was great. The Hulk fucking throwing people out of the fucking bridge thing was cool.
Man, that was good, yeah.
Yo, the funniest part was when Belinsky thought he could fuck with the Hulk, and he just fucking gave him like the Hulk Hogan big boot and kicked him like into the fucking tree, and he just fucking mushed into nothing. I thought that scene was really good. Mike, what'd you think about this fight scene?
The fight scene on the college campus was my favorite fight scene, actually. Just because it was kind of his first actual debut as the Hulk. Like, we saw him in the factory, but like you kind of didn't really see him. And he like jumps out of the glass thing, like with slow motion, full like in front of everybody, arms up, like everyone's shocked. General Ross is like, "Well, retreat. Yeah, we're gonna retreat now." Or he said that later, but I mean, because he thought he could take him with the. You really just saw the full force of his power with those sound things, and he destroys them. That's when he destroyed them, and that's when Ross was like, "Yeah, we're gonna retreat now. Everybody turn, let's fall back." And then I don't remember his name, but Abomination running like through everybody trying to fight him one-on-one, and then he just kicks him in the face. That was hilarious. That was so fun. I like that scene, actually. Out of everything in the movie, this has always been my most favorite scene to watch.
I agree.
Big Mike, what do you think about this scene?
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I mean, I really, that was probably my fight scene out of everything, just because like it kind of showed the true power of the Hulk. Like he's taking on a whole freaking army by himself, like getting shot with rockets and everything. Plus, I thought it was kind of like the least cliche fight scene.
Okay, yeah.
Just because, like, I mean, you fight Abomination, it's like you've got these two like evenly matched kind of powers, and they just fuck each other up the whole time. They're just punching and kicking and whatever. But this was just like it seemed like they put some thought into it, or like it just showed how crazy powerful this thing is that he created, and why you can't blame them for trying to stopping it. But granted, it is for the wrong reasons. But I liked it a lot. I think it was really well made, and it like kind of edge on the seat action the whole time.
I will say one of my other favorite fight scenes is when they were in New York, and when the car split in half, and he put the car on his boxing glove and beat the beat the car apart with Abomination.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That was just good.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So basically, Hulk fucks everybody up, and then him and Betty are like having a moment, and some asshole in the plane thinks, "Oh, this is my chance to fucking shoot the Hulk," not knowing that fucking Betty Ross, the fucking general's daughter, standing right there. So Thunderbolt Ross basically loses it, like, it's my fucking daughter, and Hulk saves her, and then they run away somewhere into like this cave in the in like the mountains over there, and basically he turns back into Bruce, and they go on a run for a while. So then they become like this thing on the run. And what was interesting,
this is where the movie takes a turn for the worse. It becomes this love story shit. And,
one thing I'll say is Betty sure did fucking move on from her boyfriend quick as shit. She was like,
first of all,
Bruce is back. Fuck
yeah,
this.
Bruce is forever bae, yo. Forever bae.
Like, fuck this.
I mean? Like, yeah.
I'm trying to get back with Bruce. I thought it was funny when they were in the hotel and they was trying to fuck, and fucking Bruce was like, and he was like, I can't get too excited.
That shit was good.
And I was like, that's got to be the worst part of being the Hulk. Like, that's got to be the worst part. Like, how does the Hulk have sex? That is a excellent question that people probably should answer.
It was very good because I thought about the same. I was like, yo, he cannot bust a nut. Like,
how does he get excited enough to have sex but not too excited? Like, that's got to take some real fucking mind
because
training.
You can't climax. Every time he climaxes, he turns into the Hulk. Has to.
And then someone would die.
Then she would die because his dick would just grow like 50 times bigger, and
someone
she
said
could split open.
Someone said, like, when the Avengers came out, that the Hulk he can't have a penis because it anatomically, his body size, it's just like not animated.
Yeah, we can't do that. There's children watching. Yeah,
but that's not true because in Thor Ragnarok they showed a Hulk walking around with a towel on. Only a towel, and clearly he had the towel over something.
He's supposed to have a penis, but proportionally to his body, if they animated it, you would definitely see something there.
Imagine you grow into this like gigantic freak beast, but your dick just stays the same size.
Man,
15-foot tall, like crazy gigantic thing, and then just like a little 5-inch penis. Like, that'd be funny as hell.
Okay, that wouldn't be cool. I'd be pissed.
I'd be mad. I'd be sad for him. And then I feel like if we did this, there'd be a whole genre of Hulk porn that women would be into.
I'm not gonna lie, there probably is
definitely.
I'm sure there's definitely Hulk porn.
Full 38 of the internet?
Something like that.
If it exists, there's porn of it.
If you can think of it, there's porn of it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been saying it would be bigger if we start showing it in movies. That's what I'm saying. Like,
can't be showing that.
Yeah.
So then they make their way through hook or crook. They get this beat up ass truck and they make their way to New York City to try to meet Mr. Blue. Meanwhile, Abomination is somehow healed from that destruction from the Hulk. And then you see like this fucking thing stick out his back and you're like, oh shit, here he comes. But you don't get the full turn yet. So they get to Mr. Blue and he's basically like this whacked out scientist who's been like trying to figure out how to cure him. But we find out that he's like synthesized his blood. So it's just like mad fucking Banner blood everywhere. And I'm like, this can't be a good idea. Like, this is not a good idea.
And concentrated it like extra.
So basically, he tries this procedure and it doesn't actually cure him. And then they show up. The Thunderbolt Ross and his people show up because they've tracked him there through S.H.I.E.L.D., actually, and the internet. And Hulk gets away. No, they capture Hulk at this time at Bruce, but Belansky stays over and he demands the fucking scientist to put him, like, hook him up to this program or hook him up and inject his blood into him. And basically, he turns into the fucking Abomination. So, Big Mike, what'd you think about, like, the creation of the Abomination and him as a villain overall?
I thought it was kind of cool. I think if they were smart, like if the army was smart, like if you look back to the fight on the college campus, like you could see obviously like this, what was he, like 35, 36 years old? And he was like sprinting faster than everybody. Like he was basically Captain America, he just maintained the same body. Like, he was just super strong and super fast, which is what you want for your soldiers. Like, you don't want your soldiers to turn into these gigantic freaks. So I think if the Army was smart, they would have kept it that way. But obviously, he got greedy and wanted to be bigger, and he wanted to become a god, like he was saying. But I mean, I didn't like it a ton as a villain for him, just because I felt like it was kind of cliche. Like,
I felt like it was personal though. Like I think it, like once he got bested the first time by Bruce, he was like, "It shit will never happen. I will never lose to that sumbitch again. I need all the power I can get." And you see him on this quest for more power, and it turns into that's why he's the Abomination though. So I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it made sense, but it was just like, it just seemed like, how many times can we see this? Like, we saw it in Iron Man 1. It was basically the same exact thing. Like, Iron Man gets the suit, becomes a superhero. The other guy's like, I got to get a bigger, badder, more crazy one, and then I'm going to fuck everything up. And it was just kind of like the same thing.
Well, this is like a common thing they do with superhero movies. You have like the hero, and then you have the villain who has the exact same abilities as the hero, but they're just bigger.
But in reality, if it was real, if this shit was real, that's exactly what would happen.
Exactly.
Because it happens with everything else. Somebody comes out with the iPhone, Apple comes out with the iPhone, and then next thing you know, here comes the Samsung Galaxy, and here comes all these other phones. It's the same thing with anything else. And somebody comes out, the iPad comes out, then next thing you know, you get this tablet, and you get that tablet, and I'm going to get the bigger tablet, and more memory, and more power, and a better screen. Yeah. And it's just this fight to the best. That's exactly what would happen if somebody created an Iron Man suit. Somebody would be like, I'm going to make a bigger suit, a better suit that can do more. And
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what they're doing.
But that's life, though. That's what we're trying to say. That it happens in life every day. So that's why.
I think they agree with it. I think that's what Big Mike was saying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I see it every day. We see it with everything, even though if we don't like actually think about it. But we see it in all the things that you just mentioned. But like, not to switch universes on you guys, but like, that's why I loved the Joker so much. Like, because he was just a totally new kind of villain that we haven't really seen before. Like, it was so different from what we were used to, and that's what made it so good, amongst many other reasons. But like, this was just like your cliche kind of superhero, supervillain kind of movie, where it was just like evenly matched because he made himself evenly matched. So I don't know. I didn't like it as the main villain of the movie. I think they could have done something else with it, but I didn't mind it. It did make for a pretty decent fight scene.
Mike, what did you think about the Abomination in that last fight scene?
The action was good. I kind of feel like it was still a little underwhelming, though. Like Iron Man 2, the final fight being underwhelming. I don't really have much good reason for that, other than I just enjoyed the university action scene better.
I thought this scene was brutal as fuck. He was choking him out with a fucking chain.
I didn't enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed the university scene, but I don't know why, to be honest. Like
Brandon said, it was brutal. Like, it felt.
Yeah, I think that's probably why.
It felt more real and raw.
It just
the university scene was way more fantastical. Like, I get exactly what you're saying. It was way more like, look how fucking powerful this fucking monster is. He can jump far. He can.
I don't have any problems with the final fight scene. I just enjoyed the university fight scene better, and so because this is just me. I mean, because that happened for me, I was just kind of like, okay, like obviously he's gonna. Also, it's like he's gonna win too. It's like what.
Well, one thing I liked about the final fight scene is they still had the scene what you always need, and this is one of my issues with some of the DC films. But you always need the scene that makes people know that this guy is a hero. Like, there's a difference between a hero and an anti-hero, and a difference between an anti-hero and a villain. And they still had this scene with the Hulk where, at the end of the day, he used the Hulk clap to stop the plane from blowing up.
Because I hated that.
Yeah, he did.
What? That was
awesome. Love that. You have to have the hero scene.
Much.
Because
the first part about him making the hero turn is him going back to the city to stop the Abomination. Because everybody is losing.
But they made Bruce Banner the hero, and then they showed that the Hulk is a hero. And they had to set up the Hulk as a hero because the larger picture is that they're creating this team of Avengers, which is a hero unit or a good guy protagonist team. And so you can't just have this wild card monster on this team. So you had to present it as, although he's a wild card, although he's a monster and he's uncontrollable to an extent, he's still a fucking hero. So you had to have that scene in the film.
I don't know if they were trying to prove that he was a hero there as much as he still has human in him. Like, I think where he differentiated himself as a hero was like kind of towards the end of the fight, where he was like, obviously he was getting his shit kicked out of him by Abomination for most of the fight. And then like something kind of clicked for him where he was like, shit, like I need to save my people, save my city. And then like he let his own personal emotions fuel him for furthering the fight and beating Abomination. But like, I just thought the whole clap thing was totally unnecessary. Like, I get you had to put it in to be like, he's not just this crazy monster. Like, there's still Bruce inside there. But they also showed that the first time that Liv Tyler came into play too. So like, I just thought it was dumb. I didn't think it needed to be in the movie.
It needed to be in the movie. Don't do that, Big Mike.
It needs to be in the movie. Because you got to have stakes. Like, there needs to be some stakes that something can go wrong. Even though you know the hero's going to win in the end, there has to be stakes. And if that scene wasn't there, there's no stakes. There's just these two big fucking monsters fighting. They didn't make it seem like there was any stakes involved. So you have to have these stakes to make it seem like make it more important. But one thing I liked it, even though it was fucked up. And I know Devin probably noticed this, but I wonder if Big Mike and Mike noticed this. Did you guys notice the racism of Thunderbolt Ross? Did y'all see that racism?
Which part?
No, that tells me you didn't see it. Devin knows what I'm talking about.
Probably not.
So right before the fight, when Bruce was like, "Let me go down there and fight him," he's like, "No, you can't go down there and fight him. Let me go down there and fight him." He's like, "No." You know what? Did you hear what Thunderbolt Ross said? He says, "Turn the plane around and lure him to Harlem." That's what he said. Have them go to Harlem.
Destroyed the fuck out of Harlem.
So they could go to the black neighborhood and destroy that shit, but not where the white people live.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
That was my whole part, because everything was in Harlem. I'm like, hold on, why is all this nice shit in Harlem? Why they want to fuck the black people shit up when they got all of Manhattan to fuck up? Mm-hmm. I was just like, this is awful. My heart was hurting.
That good old schism. It will always get you.
Fuck the Apollo up. The Apollo Theater.
Wow.
You see?
Can I skip ahead, though, and talk about something I really hate?
What?
In every appearance of the Hulk in the MCU, he learns to control his powers at the end of the movie, and then the next time you see him, he still has problems controlling his powers. It really bothers me. It's really annoying. Like,
no, he didn't. He mastered it.
When did he learn how to control his powers in this film?
In this movie, it's implied he can control it now when he's meditating, and his eyes turn green, and he's like smiling, like he did it on purpose. But then, like, you see, so it's like, all right, I guess he learned how to control it now. That's cool. And then you see him in Avengers, and you're like, all right. And then he can't control it.
That is not what that last scene was. That last scene was he was trying to meditate, and he couldn't, and he got too angry. Not that he just decided he wanted to be the Hulk.
I don't think that's not what I said.
He could always control his powers. To an extent, it was don't get angry. That was the whole point of the film. The first part of the film was him having the heart rate monitor on there, which means, and he kept looking at it when it was getting to certain numbers, which means he knew that once it hit a certain number, he was going to turn into the Hulk. So he had to keep his heart rate under that monitor, under that number. So he did. I mean, he's always known that.
But at the end of the movie, I really think they're trying to show you that he's mastered the control of it.
No, I took it differently. I took it as he wasn't angry. Before the whole movie, it was showing him being angry about becoming the Hulk. Like, I don't want to become the Hulk. I don't want to become the Hulk. And at the end of the film, it was like, I'm the fucking Hulk. And that's why he had to smile.
Okay, I mean, I see it from both angles.
I don't know. And then, I feel like my point is furthered in Avengers when he can't control it, and then at the end, he's like, you want to know my secret? I'm always angry. And he just turns right there without having some big dramatic transformation. And then you're like, again, oh, cool. He must have it now. Like, he's totally got it. And then he's in Avengers 2, and they're like, it's getting even harder and harder to control it.
It does get harder. That's the story they've been telling. We'll get to Ragnarok later. But in Ragnarok, he even says, like, I've been the Hulk for so long, and he finally turned back to Bruce, and they basically said, if I turn back into the Hulk, I may be stuck being the Hulk forever. Now, do I think he's going to be the Hulk forever? No. But they're basically setting it up that something is going to have to happen to stop him from being the Hulk forever. Or he has to figure out a way to control it. But I get what you're saying, because I did write down that last scene was kind of weird. But it wasn't, I don't think what they were trying to say. I wrote down that last scene made no sense. That's what I wrote down. But I wrote that down not because they were trying to say he knew how to control it, but because the whole film was him not wanting to be the Hulk, and then all of a sudden he's smiling about becoming the Hulk. That didn't make any fucking sense to me. So yeah, I wrote that Ross was racist. I wrote that down. Then they had this. I forgot that Tony Stark was in this film, but
That was really good. That's a good part.
And they don't have a post-credit scene. This is kind of it, but it's at the end of the movie.
yeah, that was basically the post-credit scene. But they did a good job of at least giving you this little scene of like this is part of the MCU. There's a larger universe, and all the films we've saw so far have done a good job of that. Of making at some point in the film making it let you know that there is something bigger out here coming, and there's a bigger world than what you've seen in this film. So I think that was good as well. I guess we'll go around with we'll start with Big Mike. What was your favorite part of the film? What was the least favorite part of the film, and what score would you give it?
Favorite part of the film would definitely have to be the college campus fight scene. I thought it was really well done. Like I said, edge of your seat kind of action. It just I thought it was really well made. Least favorite part, I've got to go with Betty. I just did not like her at all. I just any second that she was in, it just seemed like that cliche helpless woman can't do anything right type thing, which is not how she should be portrayed. Like you said, like she's a molecular biologist. Like she's obviously smart and capable, but I just didn't like it. Yeah, I'd probably go somewhere in like the 7.5 range, like maybe so nice. 7.7.
Generous.
7.7.
7.7.
You're an asshole.
Not quite 7.5. Not quite 8. Somewhere around there.
Oh man.
Same thing with you, Devin. Favorite part, least favorite part, and score.
Favorite part was actually when they were actually destroying Harlem, because it was entertaining, and I was just like, God is really fucked up. Because like they fucked the Apollo Theater up, they were fucking all the good neighborhoods up. What's that guy? That guy from Oz with the guy that cut face? He made a little cameo in it, and they were like, "You fucking up our neighborhood and shit like that." And I was like, God damn. Yeah. And I disliked all the love interest of Betty and shit, because like you said, she was awful, and they tried to throw a love story that really didn't fit, because they didn't give us any really backstory of like how Betty and Bruce were like a thing. They just said they were a thing. And I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Because I do like the Hulk. I do like the Hulk. Oh yeah, my man Bruce was trying to fuck the employee worker. She was hot, and I guess that's where he stayed. And I guess that's where did he sneak in her apartment? Yeah, because that's what. Okay, that was her apartment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was fucking her. That's why she let him stay, and she was quiet. And they were jealous about that shit. So I like that part as well. So on Bruce, he had a suave side to him, because he was definitely smooth with her. But yeah, 6.5, and I'm glad I did it for everybody out there. I didn't like this movie. I didn't want to watch it, but I did it for you guys.
Mike, same thing.
Favorite part is the university scene, specifically when is Blonsky, what's his name? Blansky walks right up to him and starts like talking to him. And the Hulk's like looking at him, and he just kicks him, and that dude ragdolls far away. Like that's always been my favorite part of this movie. Least favorite part is probably when he loses, like when they put him on that table and he like loses his powers, just because it was kind of weird and it didn't even work, and it was kind of, I don't know, it was weird.
That's a very good point. That is an awful scene.
Yes, and then like it was totally negated like 10 minutes later. He just jumps out of the plane and it didn't work. All right, well, and it also wasn't really explained well either. I feel like, but anyway, Yeah, I give it like a 6, maybe even like a 5.5. I don't know. It wasn't.
I think my score really just comes from the fact that like I was entertained by this movie. Like it didn't the best movie, but like I didn't mind watching it. Like it kept me in it the whole time. Like I was fine with it.
Yeah, I was definitely doing other shit in the background, but yeah.
My favorite part was the non-sex scene because I thought that was hilarious. My second favorite part was Mike's favorite part where he Hulk Hogan kicked fucking Polanski into the tree and he just crumpled into mush. It was great. My least favorite scene. My least favorite scene was the same. It was the scene of the Abomination, like bullying the guy to turn him into the Abomination because I just didn't understand his motivation or why he would want to do that. So I guess it was he just wanted the power, but that seemed a really stupid reason to want to do that. So
you see how happy he was though on the low? Like the scientist was on the low?
You look like
I didn't really like that shit either, but
you look like an abomination and you're happy. Like where are you supposed to live? Like what do you
Yo, that's a good point though. What Mr. Blue
shit. Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, Mr. Blue like got some blood on him, and his head started changing colors, and he just smiled, and then they never whatever happened to that guy. I
feel like he's the mastermind, not mastermind, but what's the?
He went over to the Flash, and he's the thinker now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll give it a 6.9 out of 10. I don't think it was a bad film, but it wasn't a very good film either. It was entertaining for what it was. It had some issues. But overall, it was not that bad. And for 2008, given the fact that
it was better than Justice League.
It was better than Justice League, yes. So
God damn it, that is awful.
That
bar is super low.
It's so disappointing. It was better than Batman versus Superman.
Yes.
Yes, it was way worse than that.
Yes, it was definitely better.
I mean, it was way better than Batman versus Superman.
That tells you how bad those two DC films are. So, anything else, guys, about The Incredible Hulk?
I think that's it.
So, next week...
this is Thor?
Yeah, next week we are at Thor. 2 weeks away from Avengers, which I can't wait for. So, thank you guys for listening. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn. Please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us out a lot. And follow us on Twitter and contact us and interact with us about the show. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, and anything you'd like to hear us talk about. And we will be back next week with Thor. Thank you and talk to you later.